Hi everyone. The story that we're reading this week is called The Lonely Mailman by Susanna Isern, illustrated by Daniel Montero Galan. It's a very sweet story. The Lonely Mailman. Every morning, just as the sun is rising, the old mailman leaves his house with a bag full of letters. He climbs onto his bicycle and sets off on his way. The mailman goes to each door, rings the bell, and only says 4 words. "Squirrel, letter for you." He whispers so quietly that even he can hardly hear the words. "Hedgehog, letter for you." "Dear Squirrel, sorry about pricking you yesterday when I bumped into you at the market. To make up for it, come over for dinner at 8, and don't be late. Hedgehog. "Dear Hedgehog, I know you pricked me yesterday, but don't worry, I know you didn't mean to. If you invite me for dinner, we can have a chat. I'll be there at 8, so see you then. Squirrel." Sometimes the animals that live in the forest offer him a cup of coffee, but the mailman always smiles, says, "No thank you," and rides off in a cloud of dust. "Doormouse, letter for you." He never gets off his bicycle. "Woodpecker, letter for you." "Sorry, Doormouse, I only realized yesterday that I'm tapping away next to your nest. I know how much you like to rest, so I'm off to find another tree to peck." Woodpecker. "Dear Woodpecker, the tree where you started to peck is next to my nest, and now I can hardly sleep. Couldn't you move to another tree?" Doormouse. The animals see him cycling through the forest every day, but they hardly know him. "Butterfly, letter for you." In fact, nobody knows anything about the mailman at all. "Turtle, letter for you." "Beautiful butterflies. There's plenty of room on my shell where you can sunbathe in peace and quiet, and if it starts to rain, you can all come inside for a cup of tea." Turtle. "Dear wise old turtle, we'd love to come and visit you, to flutter around and keep you cool, and sit a while on your lovely shell, listening to your tales while we enjoy the sun." The butterflies. Some of the animals think that the mailman is sad, and that's why he doesn't say much. "Bear, letter for you." But nobody really knows, because nobody's ever asked him. "Rabbit, letter for you." "Dear bear, when I see you swimming in the lake, I want to be there with you. But I feel a bit scared because I'm afraid to get water in my ears, and I can't swim." Rabbit. "Dear Rabbit, I've had a great idea for when I'm bathing in the lake. You can climb up on my back just as if I were a big old boat." Bear. All through the day, the old mailman rides around delivering mail in the forest. He visits the wolf, the deer, the frogs, the beaver, the fox, the skunk, and the fish in the river. At last the sun sets, and the mailman has no more letters in his bag. Feeling very tired, he heads home. Every night, the old mailman sits down in the flickering candlelight and writes letters. They are letters he'll be delivering the next day. Invitations, apologies, plans, and messages full of love. He writes and writes until he's exhausted, then falls fast asleep on top of his typewriter. One day, when the mailman is just about to finish his round, something amazing happens. The last letter has his name and his address written on the envelope. It's a letter for him. The mailman nervously heads home. It's the first time he's ever had a letter. When he arrives, he puts it in the mailbox and whispers 4 letters. "Mailman, letter for you." Then he opens the mailbox, takes out the letter, and enters his house. Dear Mailman, for a long time, your letters have filled our days with love and happiness. But now we've discovered your secret, and we want to thank you. Most of all, we want to share our happiness with you, the forest animals. The old mailman feels a big lump in his throat, and his eyes fill with tears. Suddenly, the old doorbell lets out a rusty squeak. It is the first time anyone has ever come to the mailman's door. He plucks up his courage and opens the door. Outside, the forest animals are waiting. When they see him, they all rush over. The old mailman smiles and blushes amongst all the cheers and hugs, and then he begins to think about all the letters he'll be writing tonight. The end. Isn't that sweet?